that you can never be sure of is just how many people know about particular things. Well, there's this meme, sort of a meme that was created by or for at least Elon Musk, that shows him being in a particular place on the political spectrum and basically staying the same as the world moved around him. And he noted that the left had moved substantially to the left and that the right had moved to the right. And I have to disagree with that. Actually, the right, if anything, has moved to the left from what I can tell. But the point that I'm making about all of this is Elon Musk can be the same thing that is the subject for today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday, the 7th of June of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That's the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. On kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, on Minds, MINDS.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, and on Twitter. And that subject is, I haven't moved. And I want to go ahead and obviously go through my notes to kind of give you some idea where I am and why I'm saying what I'm saying. I've held more or less the same perspectives on things for years, and that's particularly true in that political sense and in the sort of philosophical and religious sense, I guess you could argue as well. I'm not telling you I've not moved or changed my viewpoint on anything. I am saying generally that's just not how things are. The world has been rapidly shifting and tilting around me, and as I say, I see it all moving substantially leftward. Is it wrong to change how you feel about things? Is it incorrect for younger people to come to different conclusions than have I, or for that matter anybody else, really, but younger people or whoever? Not inherently so. That said, I find that people are typically unable to sway the positions and perspectives I take on life. I just don't see that happening as a rule. And that's not because I'm not listening. That's not why. It's mostly because they're trying to use emotion rather than data and reason to get me to shift where I live. There are many examples of this. It's been pointed out by way of example that you're not going to find many instances of NRA members being involved in any kind of illegal shooting at all. Truth is, they're probably not involved in any kind of shooting other than sport shooting or shooting game or whatever, mostly. Even people, they're probably not mostly involved. Now, I'm not going to say I know that for legal, people shooting other people legally. I'll add to this, you're not likely to find concealed carry holders in those numbers as a rule either. In fact, I find them to be very trustworthy people as a rule. Yet people assume taking away the rights of lawful gun owners will, quote, fix, end of quote, the problem with mass shooters. Want to see how that works? Take a gander at China, where it's people wielding knives instead of firearms. The fact is, the first problem isn't directly mental health either. It's that shift in perspectives I note occurring around me. Some folks' shifts are relatively innocuous. What they believe may be problematic, but it doesn't result in mass killing. Others have come to the conclusion, whatever the reason, that human life is not precious. You can certainly call this a mental health issue if you choose. From my perspective, though, it's a societal swing that starts the ball rolling in bad directions. Back to my original point, though. If you think I ought to change how I look at the world, I urge you to try to convince me how I'm wrong. I'll warn you right now, though, please do not try to use emotion. Not going to happen, as a rule. If you can't bring out hard facts, you're likely to fail to change my mind in any significant way. I can live with others having viewpoints I consider broken, though I don't like it. Don't expect me to follow suit, even if I often fail to live up to my own standards, though. If you do, I want you to know you're barking up the wrong tree unless you're able to convince me I'm incorrect on something. That's my 2 cents for today. Ignore it if you want. That's up to you. Okay, look. Here we are with look again. You're just going to have to excuse me. I'm going to continue to work on that. I'm just not good at not sort of starting my stuff with that because I'm trying to get people to see things from my perspective. I've heard people say things that are just the most ridiculous things you've ever heard. Putting cloth across your face and breathing through it on an ongoing basis is not creating a breeding ground for bacteria. I'm sorry, but your natural state, is it with the cloth or without it? I think it's without it, right? So probably you can assume that if you make some change, you can expect differences. And I'm pretty sure that you can show that when you breathe into cloth over an extended period of time and it gets wet and gets the various particulate matter coming out of your system into it, what's going to happen is you're going to create a petri dish in which you're going to grow all kinds of crazy things that you wouldn't normally be exposed to. People have pointed out recently, antibacterializing yourself to within an inch of your life. Dan Bongino has been pointing this out, and I've been doing a whole lot of for Dan, because he's talking about this being something that seems to be some sort of revelation to him, that all of these people using all of these antibacterial agents and so forth are actually people are actually realizing that that's causing their immune systems to not be exposed to various things that cause the immune systems to be healthy. I've said this in past and I'll say it again. Duh. I don't do all of that nonsense. Yeah, I wash my hands now and again. I don't wash my hands every time I go make food. I don't wash my hands every time, and I'm just going to tell you, you got kids who play in the dirt, and the funny thing about those kids for the most part is most of them are, healthy. And then you've got kids who are constantly exposed to antibacterial agents and told they have to wash their hands every time they turn around, and they're kept squeaky clean, and nobody wants their clothes to ever be dirty, and so forth and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Doo. And the point with all of this is that a lot of times you find out it's those kids who are suffering from various kinds of things, like more instances of RSV, more allergies and so forth. And I have to ask myself, and I don't know that this is true, okay? It's just a strong suspicion for me, and I'm not trying to tell you I know it's true, but I have to ask myself, have people looked at the numbers to see how often people who don't live in clinical environments are likely to, for example, have allergies of various kinds or sicknesses of various kinds, and how people who do live in environments where they're constantly washing their hands or using antibacterial this and that. Years ago, I made a decision, and it was when they started to introduce the soaps, where every time they tried to add the antibacterial stuff to the soaps, I was like, nope, I'm not washing my hands with that nonsense any more than I absolutely have to. I'm just not doing it. Now, you can make the argument that I'm being unscientific there, but I would bet you that if somebody actually took the time to look at the statistics for that stuff, they would find that what I'm saying is true, because I've noticed an increase in the number of people getting sick and people who are dealing with allergies and people who act in ways that are unbecoming and so forth as a result of, having various conditions like allergies and so forth. There are people who apparently go crazy when they have certain kind of dust allergies, and I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that because they literally appear crazy, okay? And I'm telling you that I'm really concerned that a lot of things that people are doing or saying are being done without any science at all behind them, and that what's happening is people are trying to change the world, and some of those changes I think are for the good, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, but a lot of those changes I don't believe they are. I don't believe trying to live in a operating room clean environment is a good idea. I just don't. I think all of the people who are doing that are risking being in worse shape in terms of their, and again, I just happen to be using that as an example. Like I say, what I believe as far as whether or not being gay is okay, again, is it your right to believe otherwise? Yeah, it's okay, but I'm pretty sure you can't show me any conclusive proof that there's anything more to being gay than I feel a certain way, which to me, that's feelings, that's emotion, that's great and everything. I'm not saying you can't do that, but I am saying there's no scientific backing I'm aware of for that. And that goes the same way for transgenderism and various other things. So the point is, I'm saying that there are a number of things that people are investing themselves in right now, and that those things have no scientific basis behind them as far as I can tell at all. None. And so my attitude about that is, you can do that if you want, but you need to understand fully that I'm not just going to do that sort of thing because you think I should. It's not going to work that way. And if I were you, I would start looking at things on a more scientific basis. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever have emotions. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever feel ways. But I'm saying you need to understand that if you invest in things on an emotional basis and they're wrong because you're not using any kind of logic or science to get to where you're going, that, you shouldn't be surprised to find that you're in that place. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday, the 7th of June of 2022. That will be the second day of that work week for most of us. That means tomorrow will be Wednesday, the 8th of June of 2022, and Wednesday, of course, will be that middle of the work week for those who work the Monday through Friday, shifts, if you will. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. On kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com. On Minds, MINDS.com. Should be just the Kurt's Religion and Politics group today that you will find me on Minds, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be hearing or seeing me today. Subject for today has been I haven't moved, and tomorrow we're going to talk about, and I do not have this, so apparently I have messed that up a little bit. Tomorrow's subject then will be, and you're going to have to give me a second while I find this, moral and religious people, and there's a very specific reason that I chose that particular subject, which I will get in tomorrow. Has to do with how people are looking at folks who are currently running things or making laws and so forth in the United States, and why I believe that they have certain of the problems that they do. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you on let's see, it will be Wednesday the 8th of June, of 2022's edition of the Daily Summation. That will be tomorrow's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Tuesday, the 7th of June of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there, Minds, MINDS.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, and Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind, you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's